The transfer portal, still on fire, and we are still talking about it. Dillon Gabriel is now headed to Oregon. That was the starting quarterback for Oklahoma this year, and he's headed to the University of Oregon. And you know what this does to me, aside from the obvious, is it greatly raises the floor of the 2024 Oregon team. So Bo Nix is out the door after a great 18-year career in college football, and so you have to ask yourself, okay, well, who was going to follow him? Now, it's always easy to say, oh, Oregon will find someone. Well, they'll make every effort to do that. You don't have any guarantees in this sport. Ty Thompson is likely on the way out, former high 4- or 5-star kid, depending on which service you trusted. He was not going to be the answer there. Great kid, not speaking ill of him, but he was not going to be the answer there. And so you hoped, if you live up there, fingers crossed, you hoped you would have your guy. Well, now you've got your guy. And they may not be done, by the way. They may not be done shopping for QBs, whether it be the high school ranks or in the portal, but they know they got a proven commodity here. And that's a redshirt senior. So he's played his fair share of ball at UCF. He's played at Oklahoma. And they're also in the mix for several other kids. Like Oregon lost that Pac-12 championship game and just put the pedal down harder. If you're a fan, you can afford to sulk. If you're Dan Lanning, if you're those folks behind the scenes up there, you just got to start running harder and harder and harder. And you thought you were getting 100%. You got to get 107%. And Dillon Gabriel is a big acquisition there. Speaking of quarterbacks on contending teams, Kyle McCord, from Ohio State, also started wire to wire this year. He jumped in the portal. Julian Fleming, a wide receiver there, he's in the portal too. He's the number 4 overall receiver in the portal. McCord is the number 9 quarterback in the portal right now. So it's interesting to watch because there is some thought out there that could be a package deal. I know Nebraska folks expect imminently a visit from both of them, either already ongoing or early this week, whatever the case may be. Matt Rule's about to get a visit out of both of them, it looks like. And I was talking to producer Jesse earlier, and he said, this sounds kind of like what Iowa tried to do. Iowa last year, if you'll remember, they took Cade McNamara, the quarterback from Michigan, and they took Eric All, the tight end from Michigan. And the problem is, like, Mahomes and Kelsey could go to Iowa, and Iowa would still be terrible offensively. So for all we know, that model would work everywhere but Iowa. And so for all we know, Matt Rule, if he gets Kyle McCord and Julian Fleming, maybe it'll just be like a sparkler in the gasoline tank of Nebraska's offense. I know it would immensely upgrade what they were working with this year. I mean, what they were working with this year, to be clear, in terms of passing yards per game, was in the same neighborhood as Iowa, speak of the Hawkeyes, Army, Navy, and Air Force. I think were the 4 teams. And you know what the other 3 have in common, and Iowa might as well be a service academy in terms of passing game. I'm done knocking Iowa. Iowa's done nothing to me. I apologize, guys. But anyway, let's keep an eye on this. No rush, although I wish they would hurry up because it'll give us something to talk about Tuesday. Nyland Green, the corner, former 5-star corner, is in the portal for Georgia. He's the number 4 overall player in the portal right now, 6'1", 185, number 19 player in that 2021 cycle. And he's in there now. Look, this is the thing. He never cracked the starting rotation at Georgia, and so you can look at that and say, oh, he was a bust. Or you can look at it and say, well, you can be second best in a given position unit at Georgia and still be one of the best 10 or 12 at your position in America. Well, we got to find out which is true, is the point. And last year, we saw Denver Harris. He goes in the portal. And it never quite works out to where he's an elite player at LSU. But we saw Fentrell Cypress work out great for Florida State. And we saw, obviously, Travis Hunter did some notable things at Colorado, didn't he? So what's Nyland Green going to be this year? Sorey also looks like went in the portal from Georgia. So some big defensive names from that 2021 class going in the portal. Let's see how they turn out. Juice Wells is another player that we're watching really closely because he's gotten a crystal ball to Ole Miss. Now, when we were talking to you the other day, we were talking about how Lane Kiffin is one of these guys who disproportionately is successful in the portal right now. It's still kind of early. It's not like it's a decade-long trend. But Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss know what they're doing. I'm not just saying that blindly. I know you hear me continue to say that about Ole Miss. They know how to work the portal. I don't say that pejoratively. I mean, they are very cerebral and know how to work the portal. and it looks like they may go get Juice Wells. And that's a wide receiver and one of the very best. I mean, 2 of their top 4 receivers this year were from the portal. And I'm sitting here looking at the receiver class they could have next year. Not class, the receivers they could have in fold next year. And if they add him and they get a guy returning there that they think probably will return, whew, could be nasty. If I'm Jackson Dart, at that point, you'd have to peel me away and pull me to the NFL because I got to play with that rotation. At least 1 year, I'm going to have to play with that rotation. He was all SEC, was Juice Wells, by the way, in 2022. The picture is becoming a little more clear for where Ole Miss may be headed this cycle. And also, this is going to be a big one now, Trey Moore was an edge guy up at I say up there. He was over there for us at UTSA. But if you're a Texas Longhorn, where he is being crystal balled, he's up the road a little ways. This is an important player. So 6'3", 235 edge rusher. He was the AAC Defensive Player of the Year this past year. The last 2 seasons, he's had 35.5 tackles for loss, 22 sacks, been a dominant player at his position. Looks like he'll still visit Ohio State as well. But the crystal ball favorite right now is Texas. Texas is pretty cerebral in their approach as well. It's just Texas has more financial resource to work with. Translation, they got a bigger payroll. And so they can be a little more outright aggressive and, kind of make you work in behind in their wake. And Texas is moving. They should be moving. That's exactly how they should operate.